Hey there, welcome back to Creepy Encounters. In today's video, please like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy the videos. Serious, what are some scary urban legends you have heard of? Not sure this counts as urban legend because it was super specific to where I grew up, but my elementary school had a big field for kids to play in during lunch and whatnot. On one side, right by the fence, there was a huge tree that someone had tied a bunch of chicken bones to, all up in the branches. So being small and having underdeveloped brains, all the kids believed those were children's bones, and then if you went to the tree alone at night, a man would come out of the roots, eat you, and add your bones to the tree. We have the man in gray in South Carolina. The legend goes that if you see a man in a gray suit on the docks before a hurricane, and you evacuate, the hurricane will pass over and you will be spared. If you see the man and stay behind, you will die. People do not take it lightly. 8 feet tall or Hachishakusama is a Japanese urban legend about a tall woman who abducts children. She is 8 feet tall, wears a long white dress and makes a weird humming type of noise. Sounds a lot like the old La Llorona legend in the Spanish-speaking world. Creepy tall lady who goes around saying something like mis hijos, which means my kids. According to legend, she will take any children that she sees after dark. So this is an urban legend in my school's 4th floor bathroom. Basically, a student walks into one of the stalls and does her business. Then a voice starts to whisper to her saying respicide over and over. She starts getting freaked out, so she finishes up and leaves as fast as she could without looking back. Then she tells the story to her very religious teacher, who happens to be a good friend of hers. The girl mentioned the weird whispers and the teacher's face turned pale, because the word respicide is Latin, and if translated into English, the voice was telling her to look up the whole time. I don't know how common this is, although in my state there is an area of woods referred to as the 7 Gates of Hell. The story goes that there used to be a mental hospital nestled in the middle of the woods. The first and second gate are overtaken by the tall grass and the only original standing parts of the entrance. Apparently there was a massive fire that consumed the hospital. Some perished, others were left to make their way through the woods. If you plan to go, you need to go at sundown. Once you pass through the first 2 gates and proceed, you begin to hear a rustling in the bushes. However, even approaching the 4th gate is where most people decide to turn back. You feel as if you're being watched or someone/something is rushing around you. The legend has it that you begin to hear whispers or shouts as you're getting closer to the 7th gate. The very last gate is supposed to be the mental hospital in flames. Whether or not you can find the trail to return to the first gate is unknown. That the girls' bathroom at my elementary school used to be a boys' bathroom, and a boy got killed by bullies in there, so they changed the bathrooms around. Scared me so much when I still believed it when I was still going there. To be fair, they were creepy bathrooms. 3rd graders can come up with some weird shit. This was kinda something that was just talked about in a pool of friends with me, but here we go anyway. So one day I was out in the woods with a couple of my friends and neighbors. My neighbors had to go back to their house for lunch, so me and my friends decided to split up and look around the woods for some branches to build a fort out of. My friends went a little further out than I did, so I was waiting at the fort for a bit for them to come back when I heard rustling behind me. I figured it was just a deer because there was and still are a ton of them in my area, so I just kinda ignored it, but I kept hearing it back and forth in what sounded like the same spot but getting closer each time. I tried to ignore it, but I eventually turned around, and I saw what looked like a person on all 4s covered in moss and dirt, and then they ran away. Scared the Jesus out of me, so I ran away, but yeah, never found out what it was. Had to text my neighbors that I had gone inside. My friends saw me sprinting up the hill to my house. Not super spooky, but it gives me the chills to remember what it looked like. My grandparent told us about Mada. Mada are the spirits of drowned victims that appear as bloated corpses with weed tangled in their hair. They are usually described as having a childlike appearance, perhaps because victims of water-related accidents in ancient Vietnam were often children. Story go with the 2 boys played hide and seek at late afternoon. The younger one hid near the river next to their house, accidentally drowned. He called help, but the sound not clearly, plus it was dark. The older one heard the sound but not realized it was his brother call for help. After several minutes, he couldn't found his brother, so he thought maybe his bro tired of playing and went home, so he went back home. That night, when the family realized their son was missing, they went searching to find their son's corpse. The next day, they funeral for their son. The older at that time saw his brother's face in the window near his brother's coffin. His face was blue, weed tangled in his hair, looked straight to the older brother. And every night, he saw his brother on the window, near the gate, near the river. His brother called him to go near the river, to play together again. Too scared, The older brother told his grandma and she said it was not her grandson, it was Mata who took the younger brother's figure to deceive people and drown them. So she made a tool, I forgot what it was, burned some Jaws papers and chased the Mata. But it not the end, the older brother need to stay inside the house until his brother funeral was done. If he go outside, he may can't think straight and go to the river, drown himself in another Mata will take his figure like how they did with his brother again. Not exactly an urban legend, but here it goes. There was a wealthy old woman my mom used to work for when I was a teenager who lived all alone in a centuries-old house. She had mobility issues, so she had lived in the dining room only for decades, which she had converted to a living room/bedroom. When my mom was busy, I would do odd jobs for the woman who would send me into different rooms of the house to tidy up. These rooms hadn't been opened in 20 or 30 years, and there were 2 or 3 that used to be her late husband's medical practice. There was an actual human skeleton hanging in the examination room, medical supplies that were 30 years out of date all just lying around. It was creepy, but nothing really scary. A few times when I went down to get paid after finishing up, we'd hear noises like someone was walking around in the house, and she'd nonchalantly just say, "It's just spooks." I never believed in ghosts and still don't. One night though, when she was out of town, she wanted someone to watch the house because she was afraid of break-ins. My dad and I stayed over, and after we had locked all the doors and windows and got ready to go to sleep, I heard someone walking in the halls. I shot out of bed immediately to find my dad doing the same. He was an engineer and a diehard skeptic, so it really scared me when he said, "Let's get the hell out of here." We left in the middle of the night and never went back. Red rooms on the dark web. There's no evidence that they ever happened, but the legends say they're live streams of someone being held hostage, and they torture them live on camera. Viewers can interact and request certain things done to the victim. The one that sticks with me is: a woman is driving home at night down a dark back road. She passes a big 18-wheeler, which swerves into the left lane behind her right after she passes and begins flashing its lights. She checks to make sure her brights aren't on, they aren't, and speeds up, thinking the truck driver must be angry with her. But he keeps riding her bumper, periodically flashing his lights. Eventually, she pulls into her driveway, and the truck pulls right behind her, brights on full blast. The trucker runs up to the car carrying a loaded shotgun and fires into her backseat. She turns around and sees a dead man laying on her floorboards with a knife in his hand. I don't get in a vehicle without checking the backseat, no matter how sure I am that I locked the doors, because of this old and infamous urban legend. This abandoned convent house I used to live down the road from in a small West Texas town has a hell of a lot of rumors about it. Officially it was shut down due to a tornado weakening the infrastructure, but kept up for historical preservation, built by Germanic Carmelites in the 30s. Odd thing is, this was a region not known for large or devastating tornadoes, and as the years went by the stories came up about this house. One of the strangest theories that came about in that town I heard from my cousin, and that the real reason it was shut down was the priest impregnating the nuns and sisters, and having to hide the evidence over the years by killing and burying the newborns in the basement levels. Weird shit. My hometown had a man whose face was severely disfigured from an electrical burning. He lost his eyes, nose, and one ear. He would take walks on a lonely stretch of road at night, as he was hesitant to go out during the day. He'd feel his way along with a walking stick. He was hit by cars more than once. He was called Charlie No Face, or the Green Man, for no apparent reason. People would go out on that stretch of road listening for the tap-tap of his cane, and offer him a cigarette if they found him during his walk. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe for more real-life creepy encounters around the world. See you in the next video. Bye.